Welcome to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, and no, I am all by myself today. Gilbert is on assignment for Sports Illustrated, but he will be joining us soon. He is going to join us in about 10 minutes or so, so he'll be on with us as soon as he has a chance to. But we're here at the Rams post game show as the Rams defeat the Houston Texans 14-9. What a gutsy performance by that defense, man. Like we were talking about, it's going to take this offense a couple of weeks to kind of get going, but the defense is in midseason form today. What a great forced fumble, the peanut fumble there by Nate Landman, and apparently he's been doing that during the offseason there in camp. They all were talking about it. The players and even Sean McVay in his press conference was talking about that as well. So, great performance by the defense. I thought they were the reason why the Rams won this game. The offense, it took them a little bit of time to kind of get going, and then Puka Nakua seemed like once he got hit, and he got hit with that helmet to helmet hit, he seemed to respond, and so did the team. I mean, he started bleeding, right on his eye there, and so he came back and he was there for that, that running touchdown by Kyron Williams. So a lot to go over here. If you join us, you have any questions, I guess give me your takeaways from the Rams win over the Texans. Let us know what you think. What was your biggest takeaway from this game? For me, like I said, it's the defense and how good this defense can be. And I mean, they're already in midseason form. They recorded 3 sacks and interception. They could have had a couple more interceptions. And I know I get it. You're probably going to hear a lot. You're going to hear, well, the Texans offensive line wasn't that good. They had a bunch of guys injured in this game. It doesn't matter, man. You dominate and you take care of business, and that's what they did. And I think one of the concerning things going forward for this Rams team is those injuries to Kevin Dotson and then Steve Avila. Kevin Dotson was able to return to the game, but he had a big limp. So I feel for Bo Limmer. He had to cover 2 sides, both right guard and left guard in this game, and he got beat a couple times. That's just the way it is. You got to be ready to come in, and he did a good job for the circumstances that he was in. But I thought that is something to kind of keep an eye on, is this offensive line, which I thought good on them for keeping extra linemen on this 53-man roster, because they're gonna need them. We'll see how bad the injuries are for Kevin Dotson. I saw it was an ankle injury for Kevin Dotson, and then you have I didn't see what happened with Steve Avila's injury, what they designated that one, but yeah, like you need those offensive lines, especially up the middle, if you want to continue to run and you want to protect Matthew Stafford in that offense. I thought another thing that stood out to me was they finally ran some 12 personnel, but we didn't get to see Terrence Ferguson in this game. But that Davis Allen 13-yard touchdown catch was on a 12 personnel formation. So that was, we've been asking for it. We finally got it, and Davis Allen came through there with the 13-yard touchdown catch. So good to see Davis Allen. I know he's been someone that a lot of the Rams fans have not, didn't think he should have made that 53-man roster. So, and I know a lot of people are going to get on, they're going to get on Colby Parkinson for that fumble late in the game, in the red zone. It's crazy how, that goes sometimes, but I was surprised that we didn't get to see more of Terrence Ferguson's. Matthew Stafford had, he had a I thought a solid performance, nothing great. It was just good to see him healthy and out there. I like the fact that they came out right off the bat in this game, and they they decided, hey, we're gonna pass the ball. That way you can take a hit right off the bat. So that way we can show people that, hey, we're willing to have you get a couple hits here just to test out that back. He was good to go. Finished 21 to 29, 240, 245 yards, one touchdown. Kyron Williams was kind of up and down. I thought one of the things that I was surprised by with the inactives was Darkest Hunter kind of being inactive. They went with it looked like two running backs in this game. Uh you had all right. You had who did you have? You had Kyron Williams, and you had he went for 18 for 66 yards, one touchdown. Puka Nakua, 10 receptions, 10 receptions for 130 yards. Davis Allen with that one catch for 13 and a touchdown. And Devontae Adams, 4 receptions for 51 yards. So yeah, like it was a good game here. Let me make sure I can get I'm gonna produce here and be on live here. I am sending Gilbert a email so that way he can join us. So I apologize for that. I'm producing and hosting here at the same time. So bear with me, but I thought it was a good performance by the Rams defense. I thought they were the reason that they're, once again I'll say this, that the Rams won this game. And I thought, if it wasn't for Puka Nakua's grittiness, they probably don't win this game. But yeah, the Rams defense, got to give a lot of credit to Chris Shula and his defense and what they've been able to do. And again, I understand that the Houston's defense is young, and they got injured there. But I mean, look at what they did in the second half. This is what the Texans did on offense in the second half. I had this for you guys ready to go. This is they went they had 4 possessions. They went interception, punt, and fumble. So yeah, like it is an impressive victory here for the defense. And I mean, just showing guts. And this was one of those old school games that you see, just the defense on both sides, just forcing their will. And then the way they were hitting out there, like this was like a playoff game in week 1. And you're gonna see this kind of you're gonna see evidence of the toll it's gonna take on both of these teams the next couple weeks. You have I think the Texans go right back, and they play the Commanders on Thursday night. Luckily for the Rams, they go on the road and take on the surprising Colts next week. So we'll see. No, sorry, not the Colts. I'm getting ahead of myself. The Tennessee Titans, who had a they gave the Broncos fits there, all game long there in Denver. So yes, it's just kind of something to keep an eye on, just because this game was such it just reminded me of games from the 80s and 90s. The way they were hitting out there, it was like every play turned into turned into a hit. And every player kind of felt it tonight. And I'm sure I even hear watching it live on TV, you can hear those hits, popping out of the TV screen. But one other thing too, Matthew Stafford goes over 600 passing yards in his career. So shout out to him. I know he was asked about it, and I mean, he's had a great career. We'll see if that. I've had discussions with people, and I've had debates where people believe he's not a Hall of Famer. And I just think with all he's done, especially if he can lead the Rams to another Super Bowl or on a deep run, I feel like he secured himself into the Hall of Fame. But I'm not saying he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I know that those years in Detroit, a lot of people point to he was just a fantasy quarterback where he was just throwing a bunch of empty passing yards. But now we've seen it. He won a Super Bowl here with the Rams, and hopefully he can continue to thrive with the Rams, and kind of add to his legacy and perhaps his Hall of Fame resume Uh, if you have any questions, as I said, we got Gilbert joining us. There we go. He's in the green room, ready to go. I'm gonna change a couple of things here on the move. Here, we're gonna move some things around while we get him settled in to join us. But a great win for the Rams here. Just really, really impressed with what they did today. So let's get Gilbert's thoughts on this, and see what he has to say. Hey, Gilbert.
What's up, Vic? How's it going? And how's it going, Rams fans? I'm sure they're enjoying that big victory. And hopefully, you guys can hear me. I'm in a casino right now, so hopefully everything's okay, Vic.
Yeah, I told them you were on assignment. I did not say what you were up to, but yes, you're on an assignment for SI Sports Illustrated. Joining us. Sorry, let me give you the proper intro. It's former Rams beat reporter Gilberto Manzano, who now does it. He's an NFL staff writer for Sports Illustrated. Gilbert, you're on an assignment. You're in a casino. I'm sure a lot of people had bets on the Rams, and so a lot of people who did bet on the Rams were happy about that, and hopefully people who bet the under as well were happy about hitting that under.
Yeah, it was definitely a strange day because uh, there was teams that covered, and then there was teams that for the public that also won for them. So I'm honestly curious to hear how the books did and how the public did. But in terms of the Rams, man, the Rams covered. It was -3. That they won. A low scoring game, 14-9, and like you mentioned, it was the under. So Vic, I'll say this is my first takeaway. I'm going to start by saying I was right. It's going to be a defensive slugfest, and for the most part, the Rams' offense did struggle. But I was wrong on the Rams' defense. They are better than I guess. I limit them. How about that? That's the right word to say, Vic. I limited them to being a pass rush team. I limited them to not being good in the back end. I limited them to not being good in the secondary. And the whole defense in every phase, Vic, they showed out. Nico Collins didn't do much. The rookie Jaden Higgins didn't do much. They shut down CJ Stroud for the most part. But it wasn't just, the Jared Verse show, Tyler Davis, and Byron Young. That back end of the defense, Kobe Durant making a big play, Vic. So to me, I was surprised. I give them credit. I was wrong. That secondary, at least for one day, was good. But I'm gonna say it. It's a week one overreaction. But Nate Landman is the real deal, man. What a big time play right there. So yes, I do have some questions for the secondary, but they are better than what I expected, at least for week one. But that middle, I can now say comfortably that guy Nate Landman is going to be a guy.
Yeah, and I mean with Tyler Davis again, just continuing to kind of show out too. I mean, and I thought that was outside of the defense dominating this game for the Rams. And I get, like I said, we're gonna hear a bunch of stuff like, hey, that offensive line wasn't that good for the Texans. They got injured. They lost two guys midway through the game. I get all that. Like, and I just went through it. Like in the second half, Gilbert, the Rams defense had an interception, punt, and fumble on 4 possessions for the Texans on offense. But I think the biggest takeaway, even in the first half, too, is them limiting the run. That was so good to see. And as you said, Landman, he was the biggest reason for that.
Yeah, no, but I thought at some point, the Rams offense gave CJ Stroud many opportunities to get it going. That running game never got going. CJ never got comfortable. He was throwing some good passes, to give Jaden Higgins an attempt. For the most part, I didn't see much of Nico Collins, so that's a credit to the game plan and Chris Shula. But CJ Stroud did have his moments, and for the Rams' credit defensively, they always had an answer for it. Okay, it's a one-score game. Yeah, it's a rough day for Matthew Stafford. It's a rough day for the running game. It's a rough day for Devontae Adams' debut. It felt like the typical Rams of last year, right, Vic, where you're going to force feed Puka Nacua. You might get a touchdown from Kyren Williams. Wait a minute. You got a personnel 12 touchdown, too, from Davis Allen, your boy Davis Allen, who I was saying, get him off the roster. And he got a touchdown. So that was the one different thing there offensively. For the most part, when the offense is stagnant, you go to Puka Nacua, and it keeps you in the game. Now you have a very good defense. And again, I don't want to get too much of a week one overreaction. I don't know how far this Rams defense could go. Is it top 10, Vic? Is it top 5? Like, it does feel like they're in that territory. Before week one started, I would say they were like maybe, top 12, top 15. The pass rush definitely keeps you in the top 12 category. But I worried about the back end. And today, stepping up play after play. And there was moments where, the offense wasn't doing anything. And the Houston offense got short fields. And time again, the defense stepped up. So to me, shout out to Chris Shula. And then with the Rams, Vic, they're always going to be in it because you have guys like Puka Nacua and Stafford who just tend to battle. And then you got a good coach in Sean McVay. But eventually you want to see this team be balanced on both sides where you're scoring more points than 14. And again, we both assume it's going to be a very tough defensive slugfest because the offensive lines are shaky. But the big surprise and the big story is the defense, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and kind of switching over to the offense because I want to get your thoughts on the offense. The offense kind of sputtered again, Gilbert. We kind of talked about it in terms of it's going to take a little bit of time with Stafford missing all of training camp. And you lose two offensive linemen in this game to injuries. Kevin Dotson ended up coming back, but he had a limp even towards the end of the game there. You had Bo Limmer having to come in for Steve Avila and Kevin Dotson having to play both guard positions. How concerning is that going forward? We'll get more into it in terms of our preview for the Titans game, but matchup on Wednesday on House of Horns. But just want to get your thoughts. How concerning are those two injuries?
It is very concerning because most teams in the league have very good pass rushers. And even a team that we thought was crappy is the Tennessee Titans. They put a lot of pressure on Bo Nix today. So they have Jeffrey Simmons. So that's for next week. But moving forward, you're going to have some good O-line combinations. Your game planning and the pre-snap read and how do you motion people, guys. You got to have some tricks where you're throwing the pass rush off. You can't have them in a good rhythm. So in terms about having injury, play offensive line, you just got to have more tricks in the bag, and that's up to Sean McVay to do that. You got to have a good running game, but that is for the future. But for the most part, I thought they held up pretty well. I did see Stafford take some bats or take some sacks, and some of them were not his fault. He couldn't get out the way, and that's more on the O line. Some of it was on Stafford not being able to move around too much, but for the most part, it's kind of like we've been talking about for the last few years with Stafford, running the show. Like he's not going to be a mobile quarterback. He might take some sacks here and there, but he's always going to give you a chance to give the ball to the playmakers. And then Puka Nacua got the scare too a little bit, and he came back. But other than that, that's a problem for another day, the offensive line. But for right now, to hold your own against Will Anderson Jr. and Daniel Hunter, I'm sure they're going to feel away coming away like a big time. It is a victory, but a big time victory in terms of the whole line.
What did you think of the physicality in this game? I thought it felt like a playoff game out there. Like you could hear the hits coming out of the TV. Like this was one of the most physical games I've ever seen for a week one, Gilbert.
Yeah, it felt like those throwback 49ers Rams battles, or was it no? Or is it more like Rams? Seahawks 49ers. The Rams, and the 49ers have been rivals for the last few years. But before that, those NFC West defensive battles, it felt like that. But the good thing, I know, again, I'm trying to avoid the week one overreaction, Victor, is when you have that type of physicality and defense, and if you get the running game going a little more, that's always a good recipe for when you play in the playoffs. Again, it's only week one, but to see that tone right away, and you don't know how long a defense can sustain that. They're still very young. Maybe that's a good thing, being a young defense, at least up top. Even all over the defense, actually, they're pretty young. Maybe you can withstand that physical level for the whole year. That's going to be a big time plus, especially in close games. And again, like I mentioned, the Texans had every opportunity to steal that game. I was watching that at the sports book, and I'm thinking like, hey, Houston might steal this one. And shout out to Nate Landman. We keep talking about Nate Landman, and again, week one overreaction. I don't know how good he's going to be, but he's definitely an impact player. He's a legit starter, and he's a captain. He's making plays, so he's doing everything right.
I thought one of the things you brought up earlier too about Puka Nacua, like you get punched in the mouth, like literally, like he did, like he got a helmet hit, and he got a cut above his eye. And I felt like how they responded after that showed me a lot. Like this team is ready for that Super Bowl run. Like that was the biggest thing, was seeing Puka kind of how he responded, being back, like being involved and making a key block on that Kyren Williams touchdown. That showed me a lot. Like I don't need him catching a ball to show that, hey, this is the way you respond. Him blocking was a response. Like, hey, like the whole Mike Tyson way. How do you respond after getting punched in the face? And I thought the Rams did a great job from that point on, and that's what led to them winning this game.
Yeah, it wasn't like a run heavy game, but when you're being questioned all off season about are you physical enough to stop the run when you got smacked by Saquon Barkley, and I know it doesn't involve Puka Nacua, that's more on the defense, but that's your reputation for a team right there. So if the offense is setting the tone blocking, if the defense is doing the part being physical and putting out hits out there, that goes a long way. So I think for the maybe a non overreaction week one, this team could be very physical on both sides. And Puka Nacua, like we've known this for a while. He's the perfect Sean McVay 11 personnel playmaker. Obviously, we're all talking about them maybe being 12 personnel and having tight ends and having them more incorporated. But Puka Nacua does everything. That's why, I love Puka Nacua for showing respect to Devontae Adams and saying, you go at the front of the line for receiver drills. You take my number 17. That's great enough, but you're still the number one guy here, and you do everything. You set the tone with the blocking, physical, catching, playing, putting your body on the line every week. I get it. Maybe, he shouldn't put his body on the line that much because you need him on the team, but he's not going to change, and that's the beauty of Puka Nacua. He makes the dirty work effortlessly without any hesitation. And again, it's very infectious for the whole team. So usually more times than not, the teams that are physical, they tend to find their way into the playoffs. Even the teams that have whatever offenses, I'm not saying the Rams are going to be that, but they always find a way to be a wild card team. And then that's the team you don't want to face come the playoffs. Again, I got to stop myself. We're talking about playoffs.
Right.
But for a week one take, physical, you could definitely talk about that team in terms of that aspect.
Yeah, and one last thing before I get your final thoughts, and we get going here, Gilbert. I thought another guy that that kind of stood out for me was Jordan Whittington. Outside of him returning punts and kicks, I thought that was huge. I think we're gonna get one, sometime this year, or he'll return one for a touchdown. The thing with him is, like, remember how I was asking, well, with Cooper Cup gone, and you bring in Devontae Adams, who's going to do that dirty work? And it's going to be Jordan Whittington, and it's good to see him. They were giving him some end arounds, that I thought were really impressive. So they're going to keep him involved in the offense, and he's going to play a key role in special teams.
Vic, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but what was the stat line on Tutu Atwell? I legit don't know.
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it just tells you that Tutu Atwell is not going to be a thing, and Jordan Whittington is going to be the thing, because why? He does a little more. He does the dirty work. He does the blocking. He does the jet sweeps. He does plays out of the backfield. He could catch like a traditional wide receiver. We haven't got that big time Jordan Whittington game, but I'd rather have my money on Whittington doing more than Tutu Atwell, who's a specialist. It's probably what it is. He's a burner. But he's not making the plays, and at some point, you got to just say, you know what, we're not going to try this. We're going to do something different. We're going to be a slow pace, and to keep it more a receiver centric before I head out, Vic. Devontae Adams didn't have a monster stat line, but Devontae Adams still made a lot of big time plays. Like, he could still get open, he could still catch the ball, and the thing that's going to go a long way, Vic, is when you have your 4 catches for 60 yards, I forgot what it was, and you're not the number one playmaker, that'd be a Puka Nacua. But go ahead, what was it?
Yeah, 4 receptions for 51 yards.
Okay. With a different team, maybe the Raiders or the Jets, he might be upset, but they're winning the games.
Yep, that's what matters.
He's seeing the defense make plays. He's seeing that, like, you know what? I don't have to carry the load here like I did in the other stops. So having that infectious energy of like, oh, damn, I'm not alone here. Who cares about my stat? Let's see how that plays out. I'm not gonna just fully assume that Devontae's going to be okay with that, but it's going to help when you win these games early on.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll be back on Wednesday to preview the matchup with the Titans, Gilbert. But before we let you go here, and we both leave, and put our final says, our final thoughts here for this Rams win over the Texans. We have Deborah Salgado says, all that speculation and second guessing is over. Rams are talented and all the components that make a great team. Super Bowl journey begins. Puros cuernos, stay healthy. And then let me give you one more here from Daniel Calderon. He says, Landman is the greatest Rams linebacker ever. With that peanut punch forced fumble there. Gilbert, just give me your final thoughts here, and then look forward, kind of previewing as we get ready for a Rams Titan on Wednesday on House of Horns.
Yeah, I started by praising the secondary, saying that I was pretty harsh on them and I was wrong. So I'm gonna end the show saying they balled out, and I'm not sure if the secondary is going to be here to stay. Again, that's the week one talking right there. But the reason why and I'll take the L, picked the Texans here because I thought their receivers like Nico Collins could, hurt the secondary, and they didn't. And I know that Higgins got 2 catches that were pretty impressive, but it was 2 for 34 yards, and Nico was pretty absent, and you got Hutchinson and you have Dalton Schultz. So to me, take a bow in a victory lap secondary. You've been criticized all year. You see the former Ram, Jalen Ramsey, making a play. Well, these new Rams here in the secondary, maybe they're turning a corner finally where you're not getting burned by Jawan Jennings in week 3 or Jameson Williams in week 1. Like, that's last year. And like Delbert said, last year's last year. No more of that crap. So let's move forward. And maybe the secondary is going to move forward and build off of today.
Yeah, and we'll get more in depth into Camp Kitchens and and Kobe Durant and all those guys because they balled out. I mean, that interception by Kobe Durant was spectacular. You could have had one there late in the game as well. If I think it was Camp Kitchens, if he had stayed in bounds, he could have had another interception. So a really impressive performance here for the defense. And as we said, I started this show with the defense, and I'll end it with the defense, Gilbert. They were the MVP of this game. They're the reason they won, and this defense is going to carry this team this year. Which is kind of crazy when you think that they're the least paid, or they're the defense that is the lowest salary in all of the NFL, and you have one of the most expensive offenses. It doesn't matter. You just go out there and win, and this defense is proving why it's good to build to the draft and get lucky with some free agency in terms of Nate Landman. Gilbert, last thing here. Who gets your 12-pack of beer of the game in this game?
Oh man, you know what? Obviously, it could be like you mentioned, Cam Kitchens or Kobe Durant or Nate Landman. But I just want to give a shout out to my guy Adam Grossbar. He joined us here earlier in the summer from the OC Register, Rams beat reporter. Adam's been high on Tyler Davis, and then Tyler Davis getting the sack today, providing push. I know Shule said he's like the 4th starter. Like guys like having depth like that at that position to move the pocket, it goes a long way. That's the small stuff in football, and obviously the sacks make it easier. So I'll give credit to Adam, and I'll give obviously a ton of credit for Tyler Davis to be on his way to be a big time gem for this Rams defense.
Yeah, and I'll go with Nate Landman. Like we've talked about him perhaps being a Zach Vaughn, type of guy who played mostly special teams in New Orleans and then went on with the Eagles, won a Super Bowl, got a big, huge contract. I doubt he gets a contract from the Rams because they don't like to pay linebackers, as we saw Ernest Jones get an interception with the Seahawks, and I thought he looked great too with the Seahawks. But that's besides the point. I mean, Nate Landman, he's had a great camp, and he's become a leader right off the bat, and so. Maybe he's this year's Zach Vaughn, as we've been talking about, and he's the reason why they won this game was him, especially after the Kobe Parkinson fumble. So shout out to Landman and shout out to Tyler Davis. Hope they enjoy that 12-pack of beer. We need a sponsor for that still, Gilbert. It's been a couple years, but we still need a sponsor. All right, Gilbert. Thank you for joining us from Vegas. What do you have coming now that people should expect? Start plugging here. Let the people know, and then also they can see they can find us on Wednesday, House of Horns as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're good. Sorry. As you can tell, I'm here in Las Vegas. I'm going to have a story about behind the scenes of what it's like to be an odds maker in Las Vegas. What it's like to take in big bets that are like over $10,000. So. I got to shadow one of the odds makers in Vegas, so hopefully you check out that story. I'm not sure when it'll come out, maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. I got to be writing all night tonight, but check that out. And obviously what I'm going to work on right now after I'm done with you guys is my what we learned takeaways in week 1. And yeah, Rams defense will probably find its way in that story.
There we go. And of course you can, we'll be back on Wednesday right around 5:00 Pacific time to preview the matchup with the Tennessee Titans. So stay locked on, and just thank you to everybody. Gilbert, thank you to Delbert, thank you to Rob G, who brought in some Charger stuff in here, and we also have Daniel Calderon. So shout out to you. Enjoy the first week 1 victory of the year, and now it's on to play Tennessee on an early matchup as they head over to Tennessee. But we'll be back on Wednesday. Gilbert, thank you so much. You know what? Go ahead. Go ahead and end this show. You do it your way, man.
All right, let's get out of here. Congrats on the win, Rams fans. Let's do it again and talk more Rams football on Wednesday. But on that note, nos vamos, pues.